Thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the panel on the Cybersecurity Innovation Hub of Castile y León. Thank you to INCIBE for letting me moderate the table, the panel, and thanks to the participants that I have here. We have representatives from the from the Cybersecurity Hub. I think we have a good representation, and I will start by introducing the different speakers. They can tell us about their role within the Hub. My right, we have José Francisco Diego Calvo. He's the territorial head of Salamanca, and he is the head of a center in Brussels as well. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation, and thanks to the other speakers to be here today to share what the Cybersecurity Hub has to tell. There is a presentation that I would like to show you.
Es para seguir simplemente un guión, aunque después, perdonen que...
Excuse me, I just wanted to have some kind of guidance through my speech. While we wait for the presentation, the concept of the Cybersecurity Hub started a few years ago. It all came from the launch from the European Union of the digital ecosystems of innovation, and it stemmed from here. We started conversations with INCIBE, with the AE of Cybersecurity, and with the Business Institute of Castile y León. We are part of the Council of Economy and the Tax Office, and from there we started to build the structure of the Cybersecurity Hub. The regional government took León as the reference point to locate the hub, and we started to work on the innovation ecosystem, which is a one-stop shop. It's a single window to provide services to companies of different products. We have a cluster process, and we not only work in the technology field, but also in the services field. And that's where we play a key role in terms of providing services to companies. Support lines, support in several issues related to training and other issues related to R&D. This would be our role in the ecosystem. In the competence center, we have INCIBE, which is a reference entity in León, and it's an international and European reference. And for us, it's a great pleasure to have them in our autonomous region and to work in the field of cybersecurity with them. Having the INCIBE as the pillar of the Innovation Hub is a guarantee of success. What we are is the initiators of the proposals. We are within the Cybersecurity Hub providing the services that the ecosystem needs, and from the point of view of investment and R&D, we will support in training as well, and that's the system I wanted to show you. A short presentation. Cybersecurity. Why do we adopt the concept of the hub at the Castile y León level? This is an idea that has been improved throughout the years. I don't know if you know that in the period of 2014-2020, all the regions in Europe had to do an exercise of smart specialization. Within this exercise, the ICT field in Castile y León was something fundamental, but we have a particularity. When we reviewed the program for the framework 2018-2020, security is defined as an emblematic initiative in Castile y León. This is where we're basing ourselves to have this innovation hub in the region, to make it the embryo and a good starting point of all the innovation regional strategy to support the cybersecurity sector. This is the chart of how we started. This is what I mentioned earlier. We have the competence center, which is obviously INCIBE, but we are lucky enough to have not only INCIBE, but the AEI has a great presence in our region, and they're a great pillar. What we want to do is to include all the stakeholders in every field, not only in the technology field, which is important, doing it through our universities, our research centers, and any type of research in private companies, but we also include the public administration, the industry, the regional government of Castile and León, and companies, obviously, because they are a fundamental part of the ecosystem. The goal is the services we will provide to companies. We want to have a one-stop shop for company services, and there is something important here, which is the financial aspect. When the project was launched from Europe, what they wanted was not just to create structures for the sake of creating them. It's not about creating a foundation, an association. We want to create something that is operational and can work. So the goal, the initial goal, is to be operative in providing services to companies through the financial accelerator as well. We want to structure all the financial support that we can find for companies, and that's the initial idea that we based ourselves when we launched the IH Cybersecurity Hub. Here you can see a summary of what I've been telling you, and in terms of the future, well, the future is provide services to companies and articulating and learning from the European environment where we are immersed, and try and come up with things that are useful for companies and that can be applicable in our environment. This is what we're doing. From the Cybersecurity Hub, we've entered two European projects. One is called Cyber, to share things with regions that have a lot to tell us about cybersecurity. Castile and León is also participating in a pilot project with the European Union as a cybersecurity valley, one of the 5 cyber valleys that have been approved. And what we really want is to know what's happening in other ecosystems at the moment of providing services to companies, and having things that could be interesting to all the parties that are in the ecosystem. The future, well, I've mentioned things from the perspective of providing support. There you can see some tasters of the next programs at European level. Everything is about collaboration, interregional, interconnection. So from a European level, we want the hub to have a collaboration with other innovation ecosystems in cybersecurity at European level. We want to create, design, that's the ethos of what we are doing. And there you have our reference. We are the Institute of Business Competitiveness, and we are dependent of the Ministry of Economics and the Tax Office. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, José Francisco, for talking about the role of the hub and to put the perspective on the different stakeholders. I will now introduce other involved parties. We've mentioned the AEI, Luis Panizo. He's the secretary, and he's also professor of architecture and computer technology in the University of León. He's telecommunications engineer from the Polytechnic University of Madrid. He's a master's in cybernetics. and he's been responsible for 7 years of various technical assistance agreements in R&D&A for INCIBE, and he is the secretary of the Innovative Business Group of Cybersecurity. Thank you very much, Adriana. I'm sorry for my voice. Thank you for being here today. It's not that I've been drinking a lot, it's just this the sensor that winter is coming. Well, José Francisco has said everything. We don't have much to say. I have to explain the role that the hub plays. So if you allow me, first, given my university background, I would like to talk about these very beautiful words that are given from Europe. The Digital Innovation Hub is comprised of three. The hub, concentrate, focus, ecosystem. I really like that word. Well, there's not much I can say, but in terms of the second, innovation, I would like to remind you that we use this word very often with another two, research and development. But in fact, it has nothing to do with them, but from a political and social point of view, we talk like this, R&D and I. In order to research, we need funds, usually public but also private, to generate knowledge. There's people who's very specialized and need to use those resources to generate knowledge. We have a method, which is the scientific method. In innovation, this is the other way around. Knowledge tries and generate economic resources, but the problem is that there is no innovation method. There is a method to manage innovation, but not to innovate, because if you want to innovate, you need a great amount of knowledge and a little bit of creativity. And you can't learn this at school. This comes from a different side of the brain. So what's this all about? We have to concentrate the knowledge, because if there is no knowledge, there is no innovation. And the word digital, we're not talking about changing to one and zeros. We're talking about the digital transformation of the SMEs, which is the great majority of the companies in this country. And only a few of them have been digitally transformed, so there is a long way ahead of us. So innovation in cybersecurity want to put their knowledge, their relationships with their companies, and create a word that I really like, and even though it's in English, the word broker honesto. What we want to do is to have a trust relationship with companies, because we are a company group, and we want to help to create the necessary business models for this transformation, and we speak the same language. We want to be the dynamizers. There's been a huge effort from the AEI to generate a strategic plan.
If you then ask me in which phase we are, we still have to sign the contracts with the INCIBE, which is our brand, our differentiated brand, and with the board of Castile and León. This is basically what we want to do. You have to have in mind that the hubs must to avoid duplicities. And as far as we know, at least in Spain, there isn't any other cybersecurity hub, and this is thanks to the presence of INCIBE here. We need the public administration, the regional public administration, as a fostering element. They inform us, they keep us up to date, they guide us. And as I said before, as a brand, as a core of knowledge, the INCIBE. Definitely what we have to develop is a business model that is sustainable, with not only the funding of abroad or inside, but we have to be able to start this project convincing people that viability is possible. And of course, to involve the public agents that can finance these activities and services that we aim for, which we can talk about later. Also, it is meaningless if the hubs are isolated. There should be a cooperation between hubs, not only nationally, but also at a European level. And regarding the companies, one of the things is that once you start an innovation, someone acquires it very fast. What we call the freakies. But we have to convince the early adopters, the pioneers. This is a phase that we believe we are capable to develop, but this is not enough. There's a huge gap until we get that all the companies and the industry, what is the sleeping partners, acquire all this. Then the others will acquire this. So basically, this is the process that we require in innovation to start up something. And here the AI is going to give us their experience. Thank you for giving us this and the point of view of the IAE and the university. So also to my left, we have Adela Álvarez Morán, which is responsible of the IT department of ILDEFE. She has a master in computers, and she's worked before ILDEFE. She was a computers professor, analyst, and project director in different companies, and also information and communication consultant, and she's a member of the Engineer College of Castile León. Thank you, Adriana. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Perhaps one of the first things that I would like to explain is the role of ILDEFE in this table, because the whole of New York has put into ILDEFE the task of developing some actions that are related to entrepreneurship and companies, and assessing entrepreneurs and job employment and employment pool, and all these companies that we hope they are created with a hub. So for ILDEFE, cybersecurity is what we call a trending sector, and that is why from quite a long time already we have been in charge of this. I would highlight two specific activities. Although we do a little bit of everything, I would highlight two things. The first thing, which is training, and in ILDEFE we try to fulfill these gaps that are created with the official regulation, and especially in an always changing environment such as cybersecurity. And that is why we have developed two courses, one in 2016 about cybersecurity, and another one in 2017 about cybersecurity too. So also completing this training that sometimes the official courses don't cover. Also, we try to raise awareness among society and the companies in particular about cybersecurity, because as Luis said, yes, we have pioneer companies and any new trend is adopted in them, but most companies, and especially the small companies, they have to make a very high effort, and it's very difficult for them to adopt new things, especially cybersecurity issues and things like that. And this is imminent. So one of our roles is to to mentor, to train, and to expand the knowledge on this. So, for example, in 2016, we did a full session to raise awareness among society about cybersecurity. We talked about mobile phone and email, but it's very important that people get to know about this, because in the end, it all involves the small companies. Also, we have participated with INCIBE in the cybersecurity venture, not only in the development of the project, but also we have created a local public space for these startups that have reached the final stage of the project, so that they can be established and their idea becomes a solid company. And all this is not within the Cybersecurity Hub, because the creation is quite recent. But for the future, we are still expecting to see that the action plans of the hub become real, to see what roles we are assigned. So everything that has to do with entrepreneurships or creating companies in León, or to raise awareness, all this is very interesting for us, but the role that we have in the future, we still don't know it. Perhaps Luis or Francisco can inform us about this. Well, thank you, Adela. We are going to start with some questions that we think can be interesting for this roundtable. So one of them, regarding what Adela just mentioned, is that despite the agents that are now involved in the hub, what other agents do you think that should be involved? For example, ILDEFE, that wants to increase the dynamization process of the companies, and the support and the awareness for the companies of Castile and León, and especially the ones from León. So if you can answer us about that, about these agents or their roles. So our point of view is that within the scheme that I have presented before, one of the things would be to involve not the whole change, not only the main factors, but also anyone that can give any service. So the main role was about transparency, but when we talk about the public administration, they have a very important role, just as we do. So from the public administration point of view, not only the regulator, but also the support of services for companies, I think that definitely there is a big agent, and they are always a reference when talking about cybersecurity, especially when we have wanted to position the cybersecurity in Europe. How? With all the tools that we have already mentioned, the entrepreneurship tools, the capacity of being cooperating to offer services to the companies. There are some actions that are already in place. For example, one of very good success exit is the accelerator business. So there's a support from the Castile and León board and the other organisms, ILDEFE and INCIBE, to focus what is the acceleration of companies, especially in the area of cybersecurity. And we are cooperating in a very interesting way, and we are starting to see the companies that have applied this already in Castile and León and in León. So we have seen this in the city, and they have been a reference at a European level, and these type of actions are being done with a lot of enthusiasm, and some actions have been started. So, for example, like seed capital in cybersecurity, or security lines specific for the implementation of cybersecurity, and for analysis of different systems. So everybody has a place in this in ecosystem. So we have to go step by step. INCIBE is the competency center. and the other agents, the other public agents that we are around, innovation agents, financing agents, developers, research and development agents and financial agents are also key, and I think that's the summary of everything. And the key is to start the initial cooperation agreement and then start to aggregate all sort of agents and start pilot actions to see how we can cooperate in this. And if you allow me, Adriana, in the strategic plan, we have proposed some ideas. Within these ideas, there are some research centers, for example, the RENI, the REACS, the Cybersecurity Research Group of the University of León, the Working Group of Industry 4.0, the Industrial Cybersecurity Center, and even 11PAD. And these are some of the proposals just to show you some ideas. They are not closed, and ILDEFE is also there, but they are open, and it's also a way to establish a context. Well, thank you very much for your responses and for your points of view. And you have also spoken about the strategy on the starting phases. So can you talk about, in the short and in the long term, what are the ideas and the activities that the hub want to put in place, and what are the phases? Well, phases are actually three. The first phase, to be able to start it, we need to sign an agreement with the brand, which is INCIBE, and also with the local administration, INCIBE. And once these agreements are set up, we need to establish a presentation process at a national and regional level, and also an information program to expand the idea of this. Then after these 3 months, there is an additional phase of 6 months in which, with our own resources, we would start some services and activities to show that this is possible, that this is viable, and this would take another 6 months. And finally, to deploy all the strategies, we would need another period of 12 months in which we would use the help or the support from abroad to be able to put it in place. I think these are the phases to start this up. Do you have anything else to add? I think it's correct. Well, thank you, Luis. However, we have to also highlight what has happened all the way until now. The creation process, it's quite complex, and they have worked a lot, we have worked a lot, and there is a first part in which the specialization of the hub must be defined, which has been already explained, and then to develop this regional ecosystem, which I think we have managed already to get, and also to identify the regional initiatives. But then there is a closed circuit of improvement in which we have to define a series of services that the hub must to put into place or offer, and also to establish the cooperations and the tools and the processes for this. Once the services are provided, we have to assess them and evaluate them, evaluate the impact, and propose improvements and upgrades for the services. So that would be the global process, which he knows. There is also a parallel action that perhaps we haven't mentioned, and it's also important for the creation of the hub, and it's to recognize at a regional level all the products and solutions that we can have at a local level to offer, not only to the local companies, but also depending on their demand. We have to have very clear what can we offer to the demand regarding products and services at a local level. Obviously, those of us which are working at a day-to-day basis, we have it very clear, but we are talking about a very strict and very detailed mapping to define who has something to say in the cybersecurity area at a Castile and León level, to develop publicly and privately, to define who has resources and capabilities and tools to support and give resources in the cybersecurity area. The advantage of the mapping we are doing right now is that we are doing it with the same reference or with the same taxonomy in 6 European regions at the same time. So what we want to is to have the same reference framework, and what we want is that this mapping is useful to show this at a regional level, but also at a European level. And it's a way of defending our products and services in cybersecurity, and this is always a key question, and it's important to show the resources that we have in Castile and León for the region, for Spain, and for other innovation systems. Adriana, I have a question. Maybe Luis can answer it. We always talk within the hub about companies, about awareness, about offering products, about training. But for me, cybersecurity is something transversal. I know that there are other hubs in Castile and León that are not about cybersecurity, but being transversal, will there be any type of communication between these hubs, like a smart city or Internet de las Cosas, or any of this? Yes, I think I mentioned this already. It is absolutely necessary that there is an interaction among all hubs. Not only with the European ones, but also with the local ones. From the point of view of innovation systems, digital innovation systems in Castile and León, the ones that are completely operative, it's a hub of cybersecurity and disruptive technologies, and the ecosystem of digital innovation of Internet de las Cosas or Internet of Things. And it's a research center that is linked to the University of Salamanca with services to different companies. And in the implementing phase, there is something about smart cities that is taking leverage of all the resources in Valencia, for example, and it's quite well positioned in Europe regarding the smart cities. And these are in the catalog currently. 2 are operative already, and 1 is in the creation process. There are others from the digital point of view, but the ones that the European Commission has catalogued initially are these 3. And about cooperation, there is a group that is related to the regional topics on cybersecurity. So, for example, we have here, yesterday we had here one of the representatives of Internet of the Things from Salamanca. So, definitely, we have to start from the inside. That is the goal. There is a word that it's very easy, like networking, but this should be at a regional level and at a national level, and we have to start from the inside to get this. I also have a question at a particular level. I am the coordinator of the Cybersecurity Master of the University of León, and we have talked about the role of universities and the research centers as supporters or helping agents for the hub. So giving the knowledge for research and for the companies. But I would also like to ask regarding the training courses that you have already done, how can the university play an important role in the training area, but not only with the official education such as masters, but what type of courses do you think we can offer, or in which formats would be interesting to cooperate, or so the agents of the hub can participate? Well, from my point of view, from my knowledge of the university and from the knowledge of what the official education is, I don't think there is a formula to define the courses. I think that is defined by the day-to-day basis and how the company works. So to organize a master or an official course with the credits and all that it takes, it's a very thorough process, and it's very slow to develop a course of 200 or 500 hours. That is something that we can do quite fast. So that is why we don't pretend to substitute the university or the official educations. We just want to cover the small gaps that sometimes we find out, because sometimes our students are university students that need a little bit more. And that you can get it from the market and the companies and the day-to-day. So we're just agile and fast. Yes, and as Adela has said, what we see is that there is a big distance between the university world and the companies. We have developed some plans, some schedules for the students, and to do this is very long. It takes a lot of time, and sometimes this is not adapted to the companies. So sometimes we need some other mechanisms of educations with shorter courses or with masters that have less credits that can be adapted in a faster way. So perhaps it's here where we have to develop a link with the companies so they give us their needs and how we can adapt to them. So regarding cybersecurity, I was responsible of the education in my company, and the growth of the offer has been huge in just 2 years. When we started the training process 2 years ago, we barely found companies that could give us some specific training. And today we have a quite wide catalog. So I think this is something that is going to improve with time. You just have to think that only a few years ago the word cybersecurity wasn't even used. So maybe we have to be a little bit faster, but I think we're going in the right direction. Well, thank you very much to the speakers, and I would like to know if there's any question in the public, any question for our speakers. You don't have any questions? Well, I would like to ask also, all these European initiatives have been previous, have been at the same time, and how they are working, if they have started before. So the innovation ecosystem concept has been going on in Brussels for quite a long time. We started with the first working groups in the year 2013 or 14. So it's a concept that it's been going on for quite some time already, and definitely when I was in Brussels, the mandate was quite clear. So just positioning cybersecurity was a big demand from the companies and all the agents that could create a future ecosystem. So that is when we started that magical word that is positioning, and from there we decided to participate and to try to take advantage and create competitive projects. We knew how to get close to those that could be important in the cybersecurity area, and we started working in 2 European projects. One that is a cooperation between regions, and it's called Cyber, which goal is to learn from others to add value in the ecosystem. So who is working in the Cyber Valleys working? We are very friends of some French regions, the French Britain, and Estonians are also a big reference in cybersecurity. And we have worked with the ministry that is working with the cybersecurity strategy in Estonia. In Italy, we have the Tuscany region, also Bologna, also the EXO, it's the European Cybersecurity Agent. It's a very important reference. And then Slovenia. They're having a quite important trend in this, and some Eastern countries, because it was very important to have them, such as Slovakia, and they are in the European project. And then regarding the Valley project, we have Britain and France and Castile and León, and we have the northern zone of the Rhine Valley in Germany, and also the central region of Finland, especially with one city that is very similar to León. I always say that we have to do something with Vaskula, the city of Finland, which is very similar to León, because in cybersecurity areas, these are very important regions, and we try to learn from them what they are doing to have such a good cybersecurity. Thank you very much. I don't know if there are any more questions from the audience. I have one last question or last consideration. There is one element that it's talked about in the activities and that I consider it's very important, which is related to capture and to keep the skills and the talent, the people that have the talent. We have really good experts at a worldwide level in cybersecurity, and they are outside of the regional level, even outside of the country, and this is a shame. So one of the specific activities is related to talent, and this is something that we all should work on. This is basic. What do you propose to keep talent here? So my point of view as a university professor, I'm seeing very good students that before finishing, they are being hired by foreign companies or national companies, but outside the region. And what they are more interested on is not only the salary, but also the projects. So if someone with these characteristics, if you can keep them here and you can offer them some project that they are interested on, they will stay. So it's a matter of creating projects interesting for these people. And of course, we cannot forget the economical part. I don't know if you know the Malaga issue, because in that area of the country, the salaries are being excellent at this moment, and they are attracting a lot of people right now. For me, I have been a professor in universities at the United States, and in León, my research area is cryptography, and I returned to León because the Cybersecurity Research Center has been created by INCIBE, and the INCIBE is here. Many events and activities are taking place here, and that is what really interested me. In other things, we cannot compete with foreign countries. If I think about the salary, I would have stayed abroad. So if we have interesting things or attractive things here, I think it's going to be easier for the students to stay here or for the talent that is abroad to return here to the country. Any other comments or questions? Well, I want to thank the speakers, all that we have learned from the Castile León Hub, and also thank the audience, their assistance and their attention. And I hope that you keep enjoying the forum. Thank you.